Welcome to the Kenney Show. Hey, you guys, welcome to the Kenney Show. I'm wicked excited to be here today. And in bonus, I'm wearing my Bob Ross Happy Trees, my Bob Ross Happy Trees sweatshirt, which makes me so happy. I love it so much. Oh my God. Okay. And one of the things about Bob Ross, let's just talk about this for a second. Bob Ross, not only was he wicked nice to us creatives, to those of us who are trying to express ourselves, and he did it through painting, but he also was demonstrating to us how to be kind to ourselves, to each other, to Mother Nature, to the animals. Bob Ross seems like the kind of guy that would, give his word and keep his word. And that's part about what we're going to be talking about today, about giving your word, keeping your word, what that means. But we're also going to dive into the part that I think we don't talk about enough, which is breaking your word. Ooh, it's even a little scary to say that, right? When you break your word, when you say maybe you're going to do something, then you don't do it. But we're gonna get into this. So let's first start with what the inspiration for this episode was. So as you may or may not know, and if you're a writer, you probably do know. So writers, we are notorious eavesdroppers. You know what I mean? So our ears and our eyes, we're always kind of finely tuned to the world around us, right? We're always listening and picking up little snippets of things that catch our eye or catch our ear or catch our curiosity. And so I heard somebody talking about, they had brought up about giving their word. And they were basically lamenting. They were lamenting about the fact that they had to break their word. And they were wrestling with I'm trying to keep it kind of vague, right, to not give away details, but they were wrestling with the idea of, they said they were going to do a thing, but then things did not unfold the way that they thought it was going to unfold in this relationship or whatever. And so then they found themselves needing to take their word back, like break their word. And they were struggling and wrestling with this. And man, did I want to. Right. I do my best. I really, 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 really try not to do unsolicited mentoring or coaching or putting my 2 cents in. If you're watching this, you can see me scrunching up my face. It's not always easy when you have the I want to be helpful gene, but sometimes the best thing you can do is shut your big fucking mouth. So I hear things, and sometimes you want to just, problem solve and be helpful, but you just got to zip it because they're total strangers and they don't want Miss Nosy Body Busy Pants butting in. Okay, but this got me thinking about this. Okay, so let's just start with the basics. I really believe that giving your word and keeping your word, excuse me, is wicked important. I think it's a super duper important thing. But again, the thing that doesn't get addressed often enough is breaking your word. So I can't wait to get to that part either. But giving your word, when we think about that, even just like imagine what that looks like if we were to make that a tangible, like a physical object, to literally, like, I'm cupping my hands and like I'm extending them out, like I'm handing you, dear listener, my word, like I'm giving you my word. I think what the dictionary basically says is to give your word is to like make a solemn promise, right? To give a firm guarantee that you're going to follow through. I think we see this all the time when people give each other commitment rings, right? Or they get what are those things called? Engagement ring, right? The engagement ring is like a promise that, like, oh, we're betrothed now, like we're going to get married. And then when you get married, not only do you get the second ring to like lock it in, you got to lock in, right? The first one, but then you have to get up and you say your vows. And inevitably in the vows, somewhere in our culture, we have this I think it's in some way like super sweet and hopeful and beautiful. And on the other hand, kind of naive, right? When we say things like, till death do us part, like I vow to be by your side in sickness and in health. Because look at the divorce rate. We know that for a lot of people, that's just not going to happen, right? The divorce rate is pretty high. Now, do I think that a lot of people maybe could? I'm not here to judge other people's experiences, and I think if we took a close magnifying glass to some things, we would see that some people really beat feet and quit when things get a little hard. They didn't have the tools or the capacity to actually work it out and stick it out. But there are going to be times when breaking your word and breaking that vow is not only the necessary thing to do, but it might also be the right thing to do. And again, we're going to get into that in a minute. Okay, so when we give our word, right, I often say to people, one of the things that I have in this world is like you have your name, you have your voice, right? Especially as a creative, as a writer, whatever. I have my name, I have my voice, I have my reputation, and I have my word. And those things really, really matter to me. And I think that when you give your word, right, what you're basically doing is it's a part of how um, it's like you're staking your personal integrity. Like when you say, okay, I'm going to give you a word. This is a trustworthiness thing. I'm making a promise of saying whatever I'm going to say. Like, yeah, I'll be there on Saturday to help you move, or yeah, in sickness and in health, or I'm not going to cheat on you, or we're going to go into business together. We're going to have each other's backs or whatever. What we're doing is, and I found this really interesting because I looked this up. And it's this part. So listen up closely for this one. It's this part of the definition that I think is what's key to today's conversation. Okay. It says when you give your word, you're essentially staking your personal integrity and trustworthiness on the promise you are making. Now, this is the part right here. Assuring the other person that you will follow through no matter what. And it's that piece right there, the no matter what, that I want to dive into today. Because I imagine that there are some people out there who think that to break your word should never, ever, ever, ever happen. And I just don't agree with that. I think it should be taken very seriously, but we'll get there. Okay. So when you give your word, this matters not only for other people, this also matters to you for your own self-respect, for your own self-integrity, for your own self-trust, knowing that you are a person that says what they means what they say, do what they say they're going to do, right? To keep your word. There's something I also think very calming for me. I think about this in relation to people I have known throughout my life. I really love people. And of course we do, because the nervous system is constantly asking, right? Like the number one question that your nervous system is asking all the time in the background with each beat of your heart, excuse me, basically is like, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Now, we all experience safety differently, but I know for myself, having people around you who are reliable, who do their best to keep their word, who are consistent, who show up. If they say they're going to show up, they show up on time. They do what they say they're going to do, right? There's not a lot of dissonance between what they say and what they actually do. Like I find that really nice. Like my nervous system goes, ooh, cozy, right? Like I like that. I'm into that. And for some of us, giving and keeping our word really matters. But I also understand that for some people in their household, maybe growing up, the word didn't really matter much. Your word, a person's word, it's like, especially if you had, like, I think about this all the time. My mother and my stepfather they were separated on and off so many times throughout their marriage. And there were times when the word would be given that he was going to come and see us on a Saturday or whatever while they were separated. And like he wouldn't come and he wouldn't show up. And I know so many kids who are kids of divorced homes or divorced parents who would be like sitting on the porch, sitting on the stairs out front, or looking in the waiting on the living room window, waiting for dad to pull up or whatever, or whoever had, custody at the time, the other person, waiting for them to come and visit or keep their word or do their time. And they just didn't do it. And it really, there's something about that that just breaks my heart of thinking about little kids waiting for their parent to come and the parent doesn't show up. It's just like, oh my God, it just like, oh. So there are people who grew up in households where they felt that they could not trust somebody's word. And in turn, they may have come to not trust words at all. Like they're just like, yeah. And they were taught that the meaning of giving you a word didn't really mean much. So they can be a little more what I would call flip-floppy or wishy-washy or what people will call quote unquote flakes, right? Oh yeah, they said they're going to come. They're not going to show. We already know they're not going to show, like that kind of thing, right? There's always like a 50-50 chance that they're going to, there's a 50-50 chance. It's like a roll of the dice, like playing craps. Like, I don't know, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't happen. And for me, that would just cause me a lot of anxiety. Like I know myself, right? Um, and so for me, because I know how it felt to be that kid, and I know how it feels to have people around you who may be in relationships with men or boys, right? Let's be honest. In the past where it just people's word didn't really mean shit. So for me, it actually really matters. I really do my best. I'm not perfect, obviously. I'm a friggin' human being, but I really do my best to if I say I'm going to do something, I try to do it. And so I think we can all kind of agree. We like it when people keep their word. Hopefully, most of us are the kind of people that try to actually give our word, right? We're not afraid to say yes to things. We're okay with committing with certain things. We can give our word, but if we give our word, man, we better take it seriously and do our best to keep our word. But let's dive into when breaking our word might happen. Now, when I go back to the original inspiration for this episode, the person I overheard talking about this conundrum, this colossal cluster that they found themselves in, right? Here's when I think that breaking your word is okay. And I want to be wicked, wicked clear. There are some caveats and some footnotes and some like I have this highlighter pen that I want to highlight. But let me just start here. Um, I think that if you were, like, let's just use marriage for an example. Okay. So I think back to my grandparents. And back in the day, a lot of people, like, there was no divorcing like back then, right? Like, whether it's you were a Catholic kid or like they were Catholic kids who got married or whatever, their religion or their families or their faith or whatever it was didn't believe in getting divorced. And what you ended up with was a bunch of old people who were just sloshing it out, man. They were just practically in the ring with each other every single day, constantly fighting or bickering or eye rolling at each other or nitpicking at each other, or you could just tell like the heightened animosity and the lack of respect, just the contempt, right? You could just feel it. Like you'd go in the house and you could just feel the contempt for each other. Or one wouldn't take the other one seriously and they'd always talk over the other one or tell them to shut up. Or they'd start telling a story and they'd roll their eyes like, oh, this bullshit again, right? Or whatever. And I would literally be like, why are you guys still married? It is clear. Now, maybe, like, did they quote unquote, doing little air quotes, love each other? I don't know, maybe in their own really dysfunctional way. But was it more that they felt stuck together and they were trying to make it work, or they needed each other in some dysfunctional, patterned way, or whatever? I don't know. I'm not, again, really not here to judge, just sharing kind of what I witness a lot of times. And I would just be like, why? Why do they stay together? I don't think that this situation makes them better together, but a lot of times they don't. Maybe the person, one of the people didn't have the means, they didn't work or didn't have the means to leave and like afford their own place, or they didn't want to break up the family. There's 1,001 reasons. I get it. Again, not here to be judgy McJudgy pants. Um, and though, this is my point. When you go into a relationship and you take a vow and you say like, okay, we're going to do this thing called life. We're going to do this thing called marriage. We're going to get together. We're going to build a family. but you do it under the pretenses or the agreement that you're going to love each other. Now, I think if one person starts to deviate from that love part, and I'm talking about like they start to hit you or abuse you verbally, financially, sexually, emotionally, mentally, whatever. I am not, I was talking with a friend about this yesterday. I'm not the kind of person that thinks that you just stick it out because in this case, because you gave your word at the altar. I'm like, if you're putting your hands on me, if you're like, being really harmful for me, if you're stealing from me or abusing me or like, the bad things, the really bad things, you know what I'm saying? Um, it's like, no, bets are off. I know I gave my word at the altar before you and God or whoever, whatever, however you got married. Um, but I just think there are times when it no longer makes sense. And when I think of this conversation that person was having, they said, I'll give a little bit. They're basically saying, well, when I got into the relationship, we agreed that things were going to be like this, or this is how we were. Or here's the other thing, when somebody presents themselves to be a very particular way, and then you realize later, oh, I got bamboozled. That's not how this goes at all. Or I didn't realize they were like $300,000 in, I'm making things up, right? Like $300,000 in debt. And they're looking at me to like bail them out because I have excellent credit or I have whatever. Oh, they said that they wanted a family and they wanted kids or they wanted this. And then they pull the wool over your eyes. Like once they got what they wanted, then they totally are like psycho and acting totally different or whatever. I think there are times that even though you acted in good faith and you gave your word, and you then start to find out that things are not what they seem, I think you absolutely, right, have the ability to stop and re-question things. And I'm not saying it's an easy decision or a difficult decision. And I'm definitely not saying, oh, just willy-nilly your way through life. And if something becomes inconvenient, you just do it. I think that keeping your word is wicked important. And I think breaking your word is no small matter, especially in those kinds of big things like marriages and relationships, whatever. But I also think it's completely unfair to think that we have to stay in a position, in a job, in a relationship, in a place where you live, in an environment that is not conducive to your mental well-being, to your physical well-being, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that that makes any sense either. I don't think, I'm like, how is that people, how is that loving to you? Right? Or how is that loving to children or whatever who also might be affected by the decision? And I understand sometimes people, it's tragic. They can't figure out a way to leave. And so everybody's kind of like stuck together in these conditions that are not helpful or healthy or whatever, But here's the thing I will say. Most people I know who keep their word, they're like word keepers, right? We don't take it lightly when we have to break our word. So if we say we're going to be somewhere, and that's why a lot of times, back in the day, people would say, do you want to do this? And I'd say, yeah. Or I would always like volunteer to be the one who would like bake the cake or do the thing or show up early or help, help, help. I was always like really fast to say yes and to give my help. And now if somebody invites me to something, unless, I mean, if it's a full body yes and my calendar's clear, sure. But I'm like, oh, let me check and get back to you, right? Because I want to make sure that I can actually keep my commitment. I don't like to give my word and then have to break my word. And there are times when, especially if it's something where you're scheduling things, a lot of times friends will give each other grace. They understand that, oh, my dog got sick or my kid needed a thing. And I'm not talking about that. There can be a little more flexy in room and stuff. But when you give your word about big things like, oh yeah, I'll make sure I show up for for the event or for the speech or for the presentation at work and I will be prepared. I'm talking like the big things that matter, right? You cannot take that shit lightly, especially when other people are depending on you to be a person of integrity, to be somebody who's trustworthy and consistent and reliable, you know? So I think if you are going to have to break your word, there's some criteria that we might want to look at. Okay. So this is what I wrote down as a note to myself. There are times when we will have to break our word, but when we do so, we take it seriously and we don't do it over some trifle little thing or some inconvenience. Like we just wake up and then decide, I don't feel like it, right? As I would say, it's so not soothing. Like the thought about of going out in the cold or whatever is so not soothing. It's like, no, we don't break our word about little inconveniences and trifle things. It's like those are the times when, even though I'm not a fan, right? I always say, I made up this phrase where I say, I no longer suck it up and stuff it down, right? I talk about that in my book. Um, but there are times when you do suck it up, when you do the hard thing, when you do show up, even though you don't feel like it, because it's the right thing to do and you gave your word. You know what I'm saying? But if we are going to break our word, if we're going to do that, we have to understand the seriousness of doing so because it is a serious thing, because it does have ramifications. It does have consequences. It does sometimes shift how people see you, think of you, and experience you. And I've worked with people in the past where they were just so unreliable and so flaky and so inconsistent that they ended up not only not getting opportunities put their way, they were let go. They were fired. They like, this person is not going to be able to, like, this person has consistently shown that they are not a person of their word, right? You see it a lot too. Like when people will say, I can't tell you how many times, how many times somebody has said to me, well, they told me not to say anything. And I told them I'm a vault. I told them their secret is safe with me. As they're telling me the secret that they just told the other person that they would never tell. I'm just like, oh my God, you guys, when you give your word, like you got to really take it seriously. Okay. But here's the thing, when we do have to break our word, these are some of the things I think it's really important that you kind of take into consideration. Number one, right? And I understand. Let me give you an example. Let's say that so I've known a lot of people who like do events and do speaking gigs and stuff like that. Everything from like teachers who like show up at like Kripalu or Omega, or they're supposed to travel across country, whatever, show up, do a gig, do an event, right? Music or speaking or whatever the thing is, an author event. And then something happens, right? Whether their kid gets sick or they break their leg or their mom is dying or get diagnosed with cancer, like something awful happens, right? And even with that, you would think that they would just go into this thinking like, well, there was nothing I could do. X, Y, and Z happen. But they give their word with such integrity and it matters to them so much that when it comes time to talking to the people or the person that you know you're going to be letting down, the person on the other end of your promise, the other end who you gave your word to, who they're standing, I'm making little cupping things with my hands again. Like you literally gave them your word and they're holding your word as if it means something, as if it has weight, as if it matters. It's like it's gold, right? Oh, this person always shows up. This person is a person of their word. They have given you this title, right? Oh my gosh. But now you have to like make the call, right? You have to let them know. And I would always say, like, if you can do it in person, great. If that's impossible, next best thing, call them. If they're a person who doesn't like to talk on the phone, maybe that's fine. But then maybe you write them or email them. I mean, I think text message would probably be last, unless it's something that needs to be communicated very quickly. But think about how you're going to deliver this news or this message. Do not take it lightly because there's a whole person or groups of people or a child or somebody on the other end of that, the parent, right? Like there's a thousand, I can't even think, there's so many examples of this. But so number one, take it seriously. Number two, take responsibility for it even if it's not your fault. And what I mean by that is like, is it your fault that your kid got sick or your mom got sick or something happened or somebody passed away? No, not your fault, right? Quote unquote. But it is your responsibility that you are making this decision to now not attend, show up, do the thing that you said you were going to do. Number three, you got to understand that the person on the receiving end of this has the right to be upset, no matter the excuse, even if they can understand why you might have to do it. Even if they're like, of course, I understand. There still might be some residual disappointment, letdown, sadness, feeling bummed, upset, tears, whatever. And they have the right to feel that way and express that. Hopefully they'll be understanding if it's something major like you broke down, or you had surgery, or your flight got canceled 3 times in a row, or whatever happens, right? But number one, take it seriously. Number two, take responsibility. Number three, understand that delivering this is not going to maybe be so soothing, so not soothing for the people on the receiving end of this. If you know before you even call them that maybe there's something you can do to help eradicate the problem or lessen the blow or come up with a solution, that shows how serious you are about understanding now their plight. The thing that you have now, when you are taking your word back from them, and they're going to be fucking sitting there empty handed with no speaker or no DJ or MC or whatever the thing is like you're not going to be able to come and see your grandfather before they pass away. Like it's a big deal, right? This thing, we've taken it seriously. So maybe try to come up with solutions. Like, let's say you were supposed to, I don't know, teach at a yoga festival and you were going to lead it. Like, maybe you come up with like 3 other names of people who would be amazing. And you've already talked to those people and they're free and you have their information. So you can then say to this person, I know I'm leaving you in a jam. Own it, right? Apologize profusely. This is the other thing. Once you get on the horn, right? Deliver it with as much of a sincere apology as you can, and also try to deliver it with those solutions, with those names, those phone numbers, those backups. Now, it's not always going to be possible. I know this. But if you can do something to lighten their load and make it not as hard or harsh for them, that would be really, really helpful and important. And also own the consequences of it, right? Like, really get, like, I know I'm choosing to not show up. I'm so like, be sincere, take it seriously. And it might sound like this is a lot of work, you're like, KK, this is a lot of heavy lifting you're putting on my lap, but it is no small thing to give your word. And we give our word seriously and with integrity, and it matters to us. And so if we have to break our word, we should also do it with as much seriousness and integrity and honesty and transparency and owning our shit like an integral human being would do, like a serious human being would do. You know what I mean? And, I just think it's really, really important. And the way you go about this, again, we're not canceling for some trivial little thing. We're not canceling because it's inconvenient or we don't feel like it or we're in a mood or whatever. That is like, no, that's like grow up and be a mature, serious adult. You know what I'm saying? Do what you got to do. Put your own feelings aside and do the right thing. Go to the funeral, show up for the prom pictures, whatever the thing is, right? If you said you were going to babysit or house sit the animal, the dog, whatever the thing, right? The furry kids, keep your word, show up, be a good human being. But again, in those times when it's just not right anymore, it wouldn't be right to do so. And I'm gonna jump off of that in a second as well. But if you do have to break your word, take it seriously. Now I want to go back to this thing because I learned about this phrase recently and I've been fascinated by it. I don't know enough about it because hashtag not a therapist, hashtag not like a trained mental health counselor, right? I have a lot of information. I've read a lot of books. I've studied with a lot of people. I have a bunch of certifications, but I'm still, quote, hashtag not a therapist. So I take that very seriously. So I'm not going to go down some huge rabbit hole with you about it, but it is related to what we're talking about today. So going back to that conversation of when you say yes to something and then it turns out things are not as they seemed, right? You're getting a little bit bamboozled. Somebody kind of, what they say, pulled the wool over your eyes or pulled a fast one, right? And you find out that things are not as they seem. Why I think it's okay to go back on your word is that if you, in an extreme case, and I'm going to explain this word in a minute, what I'm talking about. In an extreme case, if you were to continue to do something that really goes against who you are, what you stand for, your moral code, your ethics, your values, you could suffer what is called moral injury. And the people who tend to suffer moral injury a lot in the world are veterans, soldiers, people like that. Okay. So when I heard about this word probably a few months ago, and I was really fascinated by it. So there might be times when to keep your word would be harmful to you and it would possibly cause moral injury. Now, I also want to keep in the seriousness of this word. This is not some word that just gets tossed around. Like the word trauma gets so tossed around these days, just like, oh, that was traumatic for me. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was inconvenient. It was inconvenient and you didn't like how you felt, but it wasn't quote unquote traumatic, right? We need to relax with the lingo sometimes. So, this is what in Psychology Today, this is where I got this description from Psychology Today in something that it was reviewed by a person named Devin Fry. And it says this. It says moral injury is the social, psychological, and spiritual harm that arises from a betrayal of one's core values, such as justice, fairness, and loyalty. Listen to this. This is fascinating, you guys. Harming others, whether in military or civilian life, failing to protect others through error or inaction, and failure to be protected by leaders, especially in combat, can all wound a person's conscience, leading to lasting anger, guilt, and shame, and can fundamentally alter one's worldview and impair the ability to trust others. This is no small thing. So here's an example. So a soldier in the line of duty might accept the necessity of shooting an enemy combatant, right? When we go to war, unfortunately, war is, it's very complicated, right? Okay, so a soldier in the line of duty gets, okay, I'm going to war, I might have to shoot an enemy combatant. But when in attempting to then identify the assailant, you find a picture of the dead man or dead woman's children, your sense of the value of the service that you just supplied to your country or whatever, it might be shattered. And this is what it says next. A person who grossly violates what they believe is right might experience persistent self-criticism, feeling unworthy, unforgivable, or permanently damaged. Reflecting on the perceived transgression can fill a person with sorrow and bitterness. So if you're forced, it says, to make an intense is the key word here, right? I want people now to start saying, you morally injured me. Please don't do that, right? But anyone who is forced to make intense ethical choices, you can risk moral injury. And it's the circumstance, not character, that produces the struggle. So the circumstance. So I'll give you an example that I thought of because I was like, what could I do? So here's me, right? An ethical vegan, somebody who absolutely loves animals, hates harming any animal. I try not to even kill mosquitoes, you guys. The one creature, and it pains me, is as crazy as this is going to sound to a lot of people. I don't like I flush ticks. I get rid of I don't like ticks. I hate ticks. They make so many people sick, but I also hate harming them. I get no joy from it. It makes me really sad. I understand. I know everybody Lyme disease. I get it. And at the same time, it still harms me. It hurts me. Like it hurts my hat, right? I'm rubbing my hat. Okay. But me as a person who's a total animal lover, if for some reason I was forced into having to work at a slaughterhouse or having to do harm to animals, that for me, I'm not joking when I say this, would be like severe moral injury. Like I don't think I could, like I just don't know what, I think I would go mad. I don't think I could handle it, right? You know what I mean? So this is what I'm saying. If there's something that is really, really important to you and you are forced to do something that goes against your moral code. So imagine you're a soldier and you think you're just doing this patrol somewhere or whatever. I'm making this up, right? I've never been in the armed services, but I've known a lot of veterans, and I've known wounded veterans, wounded not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, who suffer from PTSD. And moral injury is same Z's, but slightly different. It has similar elements to PTSD, but a little bit slightly different. But imagine you were told, like, you are going to fight this war. And this is what you see in a lot of, in my, what I have learned and gleaned over time. We see it a lot in Vietnam veterans too. Is that you were told that you were going to fight a war or do a thing for X, Y, and Z. And then you find out it wasn't about that at all. And you feel used and you feel broken and you feel betrayed. And you have all those very complicated feelings. That's like moral injury. So for me, if you gave your word to do something and then you found out later that to keep your word and to do that thing that you told this other person was going to be ethically or morally 100% against what you believe in, I think breaking your word in that case is okay too. Again, this is not, breaking your word is not something that I take lightly, and nor do I think you should take it lightly. But I do know that it is something that is inevitable, and we are all going to at some point have to do it. And if we're going to have to do it as serious people, as spiritual people, as people who try to show up in the world doing, leaving people, places, animals, and the environment better than how we found it, we better have a way to like discuss it and communicate why we're breaking our word. We know this is serious. We're going to own it. We're going to apologize. We're going to da da da. But I also don't think it makes sense to have to live your life with this deep psychological trauma of being forced to act against your own deeply held morals or your ethics or your beliefs. I just don't think that you should transgress against yourself in that deep, deep way. Or to betray yourself, or to betray a group of animals, or a group of children, or a group of people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you said to somebody, yeah, I'm going to keep you safe, I'm going to keep this child safe or this whatever safe, and then you're forced to do things that would be awful. I mean, I don't want to go through, I could come up with so many different scenarios where it would be incredibly traumatizing to do so. But, you know, you do not want to be left feeling so much guilt and shame and betrayal and anger. And you don't want to be stuck in some sort of spiritual or existential crisis because you gave your word before. Don't keep your word if it's going to be damaging to you or to others. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I've kind of landed on that with the whole moral injury thing. But most of the time, guys, and this is why you don't want to say yes too quickly, right? Feel into it. Somebody asked you to make a commitment or invite you somewhere or ask if you want the gig or wants to partner with you in business or partner with you in life or whatever the thing is. Don't rush into things too quickly. Take your time. Have the hard conversations. Talk about things up front. Well, how do we both feel about money? How do we both feel about children? How do we both feel about paying off debt? How do we both feel about where we live? How do we feel about how we parent? Like all the important things, right? Getting into business with somebody. Well, how do we split the profits? How do we want to spend our time? What are our core values? What do we stand for? All these things. Let's just really, really talk about things, because giving your word really, really is a big deal and it matters. And so is breaking your word. And hopefully we don't have to do it too often. But if we are going to do it, let's do it with integrity. Let's do it so that we can walk away with self-respect. And let's have the other people be able to walk away knowing that it's not something that we take lightly. And we are a person of integrity. And we are somebody that does our best to keep our word. But if we're going to break our word, let's also do it with as much love and compassion and awareness, self-awareness as possible. All right, you guys, I hope that was helpful to you in some way. I appreciate you so much for listening. Thank you so much. I don't know if I already mentioned it, but we just had our first Write Club and it went fantastic. Oh my God, you guys, I loved it so much. The people that showed up loved it. We're going to do it again in June in person. Saturday, June, I think I wrote it down somewhere, but it's Saturday, June 27th. It's a half-day workshop from 12 to 4 p.m. It's happening at the 11th Letter Writing Gallery, 146 North Main Street, downtown Concord, New Hampshire. If you want to join us, just go online. It's just KarenKenney.com/Write Club. It's already live for the month of June. I will eventually be offering them online as well, maybe like once a month, maybe eventually down the line, twice a month online. But we're really trying to grow it in person as well. So that's where we're focusing for at least the summer. And then those of you who listen in other states and other places beyond New Hampshire, West Coast, Mid Coast, Central Time, whatever, you will be invited to the party at some point. So thank you for your interest. Those of you who reached out to me, I got several emails, people asking me. I really appreciate it. And I am going to respond. I just have not had a second to do so yet. So just know I haven't forgotten about you. You're on my list. So thank you so much, you guys, for listening. I appreciate you. I love you. I see you. I hope this episode was helpful to you in some way. Okay, wherever you go, may you leave the animals and the people and yourself and the planet and the environment better than how you found them. Wherever you go, may you and your energy and your presence and your love and your word be a blessing. Bye.